No.
Well, get ready.
Yes.
Make yourself ready. Gird your loins.
Wait a minute.
Let's do it. I mean, at this point, it's like there's a ghost in the computer. Welcome to the Felt Recoil Podcast. It's episode 29. I'm Chris, and across from me is...
Patrick, of course.
All right, now listen to the music. It's clear. What?
Tasty grooves.
I just don't get it. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the music. I'm gonna do this because if you're like me, sometimes I was talking to my wife the other day because we bought. What did my wife and I buy the other day? Oh, we bought a new dishwasher. Hold on, don't get too excited. I know. Whoa, pour me a fresh one.
You have two wives now?
This story. Bought the dishwasher its own dishwasher. Yeah, no. Please, she would stab me in the neck if she heard it. I can only say it because I know she doesn't listen. So we bought a dishwasher, and we bought this $20 installation kit that's supposed to come with everything you need to install it, and add one of the three objects we needed. And I said to her, don't you feel like every time we take on a project, there's just something completely out of our control that derails the whole thing? Because to add fuel to the fire, Lowe's closes at 6 o'clock, and we picked the dishwasher up at like 5. Got home, got the old one out, started putting the new one in, and got down to just needing that one little elbow bracket, and it wasn't there.
It never is.
All right. I said,
Never
great.
is.
And so then they're already closed, and you can't go back, so you make a late night run to Walmart. Oh, it wasn't too late. That's not fair. You know, it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. You go up to Walmart, and you're trying to find this little elbow adapter bracket thingy, and they don't sell it. It's like every time you try and do something, at no fault of your own sometimes, just that one little thing drives you crazy. And so we have the same intro music we play every week, and the same outro music we play every week. And this is time number 2 now that it's like the file just goes bad. It just goes bad. It's clear when you play. I mean, this is a digital music file you're playing, and it's sometimes clear.
It's always in the exact same spots, though.
I mean, right there, it sounds okay. That sounds good. And there it goes. Now it gets a little fuzzy there. It doesn't sound bad there, but if you go back and listen, it sounds better there than it does at the beginning. But I'm playing the same file from the same spot out of the same board. We've moved chords around for half an hour trying to figure this thing out. So frustrating.
And we thought we figured it out. That's the worst part.
I just don't know if you're like me at all, but little things like that, just for some reason, I can let them get under my skin. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because in the perspective of life, there are people dealing with things I have no idea about. And so that brings us...
Hashtag podcast problems.
Podcast problems. Hashtag, if that's your worst problem, you live a spoiled life, so get over it. HiddenWounds.org is our charity of choice this week. Hidden Wounds is a nonprofit organization. They're headquartered in Columbia, South Carolina. That's just about 100 miles from where we sit right now. And the mission of Hidden Wounds is to help heroes battle the invisible war at home. They provide peace of mind and comfort to military personnel suffering combat stress injuries such as PTSD or TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury, and other psychological post-war challenges. Please visit hiddenwounds.org and see how you can help provide immediate and emergency treatment for veterans and military personnel who are suffering from these different wounds that sometimes we see and sometimes we don't. Hence, hiddenwounds.org. Give back to the people that have given so much to you and to me and to everybody else. Okay. It's a jam-packed show. We got a lot to get to. I promised to try and get there in a timely manner this week. My dad got on to me last week for being long-winded. I said, hey, you and Patrick would get along just fine. The mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is an absolute idiot. London, I mean, you're getting what you wanted. You know, America wanted to elect the first black president, so they put a guy with zero experience in office, and that did not go well for about a full decade. You guys wanted your first Muslim, so you just voted for a guy that you thought you could trust, and this is not going well. You've had another attack. We're going to get to that. We're going to talk about the Lion of the London Bridge. That's a great story. Also, going to revisit the terror attacks in Paris from almost 2 years ago now, because I reread the CNN timeline this week, and I said, whoa. What? I had no idea. So we're going to get back into that. Good guys with guns everywhere in the news this week. Neighbor rescuing 2 twins. I don't know if you saw that. An estranged, I think it was just a boyfriend, but the father of the babies was over trying to drown 2 children. And the daughter ran next door and grabbed a neighbor, and the neighbor had a gun and came over and saved 2 babies. So we'll give you all the details on that. Jonathan Brayton, you may remember, was on the podcast a while back, and he sent over a story about Capitol Hill, where Jeff Duncan took some lawmakers shooting on the Capitol Hill shooting range. So we'll run you through that. Plus, a new law in Canada says the government can take your child if your child decides at whatever age that it is transgender, and you say that's not a thing. The government of Canada will come and take your kid. Chelsea Handler thinks guns are a hobby, not a right, and permitless carry means less murder. That's a fact. Permitless carry now means less murder. So we'll get to all of that. Let's start here. This is from thedailywire.com. That's just dailywire.com on the websies. The mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is convinced London is the safest global city in the world. Yeah, right. Anyway, and so he goes on, what is this called? Like Good Morning Subjects or something like that? Let's see here. What's the name of this show? I've already forgotten. Good
Wake
Morning
Up Peasants.
Yeah. Let Them Eat Cake. This is the name of the show. Speaking with Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain, London's first Muslim mayor struggles to give coherent answers pertaining to the safety of his city. Now, I never thought in my life I would agree with Piers Morgan on something, but it did dawn on me. What if we found out?
I'm surprised to find out he's still alive and kicking.
Well, here's the thing. If I went...
He did get sent back home, though.
Yeah, and to my point, he's been expelled. You know what? If you hate freedom so much, go home. And he did. But it dawned on me while I was watching this earlier, I thought, maybe if I went to the UK and was given a talk show, they'd go, who is this idiot? And why does he constantly tell us to overthrow the government? Why is he so hung up on the fact that we're called subjects? Okay, that's just who we are. We're subjects to the crown.
Just hear him now. The Queen would not approve of this.
Vermilion needs to get over it. And I'm all like, kill them all.
Quite the cheeky fellow.
All right, so Sadiq Khan sits down with Piers Morgan and his co-host. Let me find her name so nobody calls me a sexist. You know, equal pay for equal work. Doesn't say her name, so I don't care. It probably doesn't.
Yeah, who's the sexist now?
Yeah, well, women all look the same to me. Here we go. Let's listen to this is the dumbest minute and 52 seconds you're going to hear in a very long time. I promise you that. Here you go.
You are mayor of the capital city where the most recent terrorist attack has taken place. How many of those 400 have come back to London?
The estimate is just over half.
Terrorists.
So
where are they?
When you look at the...
No, but seriously,
How
where
are
are
we
they?
letting people back in to the UK who haven't just been trained? They've actually fought, potentially against our troops. How are we letting them back in without knowing exactly where they are and what they're up to? Because out of all the thousands of people that we're concerned about, surely those who've actually gone to fight are the biggest risk.
Well, that's one of the reasons why it doesn't make sense for the government to be cutting resources
But
from those...
where are they? You're the mayor of
no,
this
but
capital
with respect,
city.
hold
Where
on a
are
second.
they?
I can't follow 400 people. What I can do is make sure
Why
the
can't
policies,
you?
because what we can do, though, is make sure we've got the resources for the police and the experts
Why
to follow
can't
these
you
people.
instruct the police? Why can't you call Cressida Dick right now
Well, I'll
and
tell you
say
why.
every one of those people
I'll tell
who's
you
come back from a war zone, who's in
Let
London,
me tell
I
you
want
why.
them followed?
Let me tell you why. Because the Met Police budget, roughly speaking, 15% to 20% is funded by me, the mayor. The rest comes from central government. If the Met Police budget is being shrunk and reduced, they've got to prioritise and use their resources in a sensible, savvy
What
way.
could be a bigger priority than people coming back from a Syrian battlefield with intent to harm British citizens?
Oh,
Why
sure.
is it not the number one priority? Why are these people just allowed to come back in the first place, and then the London mayor doesn't appear to have a clue where any of them are? I mean, no disrespect to you, but where are they?
Well, that's one of the questions that obviously the police and security services are
Yeah, but you're
looking
the
into.
mayor.
But this chap here...
Sadiq, you're the mayor of London.
Sure, but can I say, look, the 3 men responsible for the attack on Saturday night hadn't come from overseas. They were, for all intents and purposes, integrated into our way of life.
All right, that's the end of the clip there, a minute and 52 seconds long. You know what it sounds like the far left liberal Piers Morgan is asking for to me? You know what it sounds like he's asking for to me?
A border wall?
A travel ban.
Oh, okay.
A travel ban. If you've been to a terrorist-rich country and you have a shady background, Piers Morgan doesn't think you should be allowed to come back into the country.
So you're saying comprehensive immigration reform?
I'm saying travel ban on Muslim-majority countries.
I like the way I said it better.
Like Syria. Anywhere where you're going to train with ISIS, once you go there, and we know we have, a strong notion as to why you're actually there, you're not allowed to come back. Or you're not allowed to come at all before we vet exactly who you are. It's a travel ban. It's everything everybody calls Donald Trump a racist for. President Trump's a huge racist. He wants a Muslim ban. Here they are in the UK, where people were stabbed while drinking beer, where they were mowed down with cars by guys with fake bomb vests on, and now the UK liberals are screaming for a travel ban. And it's a funny thing because people have to die before they're willing to react, but they don't want us to do exactly what they're now asking for, because that makes us racist. Even though Islam is not a race, by the way, it's a religion. You can't convert to black. I hate to tell you that, okay? As hard as Justin Bieber is trying right now, you can't convert to being black. You just are born black or you're not.
Well,
okay?
It doesn't help that he's Canadian, so it's already a bigger stretch.
And already interchangeable terms. I see what you're saying. That's very racist.
Wait a minute.
So it's, you kind of look at it and you go, well, I mean, this is the guy who said terrorist attacks are part and parcel for living in a big city. Why isn't he on the news on Good Morning Subjects saying, well, guys, it's what you get when you have a big city and we can't follow 400 people around? What is your annual budget? I don't care how tight your purse strings are being tugged here. If you feel like he said, there's 400 people who have traveled from Britain and trained with fighters and come back. How many of them are in London? We think about half, 200 people, okay? You're telling me you can't afford for, let's just say, 50 grand a year to hire 200 people and put them out there making 50 grand a piece to follow around one person each? You can't build a task force that follows around 5 or 6 at a time? Come on.
I'm not real good at math, but if you took those half of 400 and let's just say they all are terrorists, and then they each killed whatever the average number of people killed in a terrorist attack is, however many people that would be, it's probably a lot.
Tens of thousands, I'm sure.
The money would probably be worth it.
Tens of thousands. And let me just read something to you, and I want you to tell me when it starts to sound familiar. And be real honest with me here, okay? I'm reading about the London attacks. And real quick, by the way, but let me not get on that, actually. Let me get to this before we go too far. Every time there's one of these crises around the world, every time there's a terrorist attack, you we made fun of that idiot with Katy Perry who was like, well, at least there's some good coming out of this. And we're like, what? Because you think Ariana Grande fans and Katy Perry fans suddenly getting along is good to you? Shut up. So, we make fun of him, but actually, here's what he was looking for. From barstoolsports.com. A London man yells, F you, I'm Millwall, and then took on 3 knife-wielding terrorists with nothing but his fists. F you, I'm Millwall. Here's the takeaway quotes from this gentleman in the article, and then I'll give you all the details. If you are looking, by the way, facebook.com, Felt Recoil Show, you can see it there. F you on Millwall. I've had 4 or 5 pints, nothing major. I can handle myself, but I was out with an older person, and it was out of order. His mom says he's quite nippy and lippy and wouldn't back down from a fight. Those are your takeaway quotes that are great. All right. So he's a soccer fan of the soccer team called Millwall. That's how we would phrase it here in the free world. The Independent UK says, a football fan reportedly yelled, "F you, I'm Millwall," as he single-handedly took on 3 knife-wielding London terror attackers armed with nothing more than his fists. Roy Larner has already been hailed a hero, with a petition launched for him to be awarded the George Cross Medal for his actions in the Black and Blue Steakhouse on Saturday night. In fighting back, the 47-year-old Millwall fan gave dozens of others who were in the Borough Market restaurant the chance to escape. Mr. Larner's actions have won him a huge following on social media, where he's been called the Lion of the London Bridge, a reference to Millwall Football Club's nickname, the Lions. This has, by the way, a Hollywood movie written all over it. Here he is talking to the newspaper. Like an idiot, I shouted back at them. I thought, I need to take the blank out of these blanks. I took a few steps toward them and said, "F you, I'm Millwall." So they started attacking me. I stood in front of them trying to fight them off. Everyone else ran to the back. I was on my own against all 3 of them. That's why I got hurt so much. It was just me trying to grab them with my bare hands and hold on. I was swinging. I got stabbed and sliced 8 times. They got me in my head, chest, and both hands. There was blood everywhere. They were saying, "Islam, Islam." I said, "F you, I'm Millwall." It was the worst thing I could have done as they carried on attacking me. Luckily, none of the blows were straight at me or I'd be dead. Despite his injuries, he said he followed them outside. It wasn't until I was in a police car that I realized I was in a bad way. He said, I'd been sliced up all over. I didn't think of my safety at the time. I'd had 4 or 5 pints. Oh, man. There's pictures of him and all sorts of good stuff. You got to go see it. Here's the best part. This guy, I want to be friends with him so bad. As he recovers in hospital, and there's a picture. Go to Facebook.com, Felt Recoil Show. As he recovers in hospital, Mr. Larner's friends have brought him a running magazine. They brought him a copy of Runner's World. They took a picture of it on his chest, and it says, "Learn to Run," across the front. Which, if you remember, that's apparently the new rally cry of London, is run, hide, call for help. Right? Is that right?
I think so. Something
Or
like
run, hide, tell somebody, or it should be run, hide, die. Because the one thing we know is if you run from a terrorist attack and then you shelter in place, as it were, and just wait, you're more likely to die. You have to just run till you're completely out of there. Just go home. Once you're home, you can lock your door, get something to defend yourself. I don't know what they use in the UK to defend themselves, kitchen knives or something. But grab what you can and wait there.
It's not toothbrushes.
Yeah. Facebook.com/Felt Recoil Show and go read about the Lion of London Bridge. What a fantastic story. Just that is good coming out of really, really, really bad stuff, because now you want to be that guy.
I like that his retort to Islam was a soccer team. Like, you know, those guys are screaming, "We're doing this for Allah."
Right.
And he's like, "Right, well, I'm doing this for my football club."
I mean, it really essentially is like if you were in a bar and you're having a couple of beers with your buddies and terrorists come in and some dude just stands up and goes, "Go Packers," and just starts slamming these dudes. You'd be like, what's wrong with that guy? But then you'd kind of become a Packers fan just for that guy's sake. Unbelievable. Now, if you don't know the details of the UK attack, basically the short version of it is that they drove a truck through a large crowd. They hopped out of the truck. They started slicing people, running around killing as many people as they could, trying to kill as many as they could at least. I want to read you a timeline, and I want you to be as impartial to this as you can since I gave it away at the beginning. But just listen to this and tell me what this is, as specifically as you can before I reveal it. Okay, so I'm just going to start reading. If you think you know what I'm talking about, you tell me.
We need a buzzer.
All right. I'm not going to give you the date, but I'm going to give you the time. Okay? 9:20 p.m., an explosion occurs outside a sports stadium in a suburb north of Paris. French President Francois Hollande is in the stadium watching France play Germany in a soccer match. He is safely evacuated. A second explosion occurs outside the stadium. Both blasts happen on the same street. About 400 meters from the stadium, a third blast occurs. A total of 4 people are killed, 3 suicide bombers, and a man who had been walking by. At 9:25, this is 5 minutes after the first explosion, gunmen armed with assault rifles kill 15 people at a street intersection in the 10th district of Paris. At 9:32, at a separate corner in the 11th district of Paris, 5 people are killed in a shooting. At 9:36, attackers arrive at a restaurant and fire their assault weapons on people sitting outside. 19 people are killed. At 9:40, just 4 minutes later, a suicide bomber blows himself up inside of a restaurant. 1 person inside is seriously injured, and several others are slightly injured. At 9:40, same time, at the Bataclan, I think, or Bataclan, 3 attackers armed with weapons arrive at a concert hall. The gunmen enter the small concert hall and open fire as a performance is underway by the U.S. band Eagles of Death Metal. 89 people are killed there. Gunmen fire upon people as they lay on the floor, killing execution style, as according to one concert goer. Did any
now I'm familiar with it.
Was any of that? I
know about the last part, but that's it.
I mean, so
I think I do recall the bombs going off outside the stadium.
Okay.
Before the Bataclan massacre, essentially.
Okay.
But everything in between, I don't recall any of that.
So exactly my point, except I don't remember any of it except the concert hall being attacked. And I'm very curious as to why we weren't privy to that. I mean, this is a CNN article that was posted on November the 30th of 2016. It was updated at 3:24 in the afternoon on Wednesday, November the 30th, 2016. That might be where they added the detailed timeline. But am I alone in believing that the media only told us about the concert hall as if there was a singular attack that night? Because here's why it's important. If you're like, well, what does it matter? Yeah, it sounds much more horrendous than I ever knew, but why is that important? This was played as a singular incident, but this was guerrilla.
They always are.
This was guerrilla warfare in the streets of Paris.
Clearly.
Legitimately, just as we talked about last week in the streets of the Philippines, they're going out and attacking people, and Katy Perry's out there in the middle of it just trying to hug jihadis, man. Just, come here. Give me a hug.
Handing out coexist bumper stickers.
Yes.
Which there has been an issue recall. So anybody that's got one of those, we're going to need you to turn that
Just
in.
turn it back. You're not getting your money back because you're an idiot for buying it in the first place. You're the most historically ignorant. If you want to just tell everybody no idea
anybody
about
wants
history.
to mail me one of those, I'll mail you back a box of 9mm. How's that sound?
There you go. I like that idea. One bullet. One
bullet per bumper sticker.
You're kind of a Barney Fife of the world. Anyway, thanks, by the way, Bob Newberry on Facebook for that post. I laughed out loud. I've rarely come across stuff and just start laughing, but that one made me laugh pretty loud. And you can see what we're talking about, facebook.com/feltrecoilshow. So, all right, here's why it's interesting to me is because, A, I didn't know any of this.
I'm actually kind of baffled right now.
I was eating lunch the other day alone, as I do almost every day.
Doesn't have any friends.
I don't. But if I did, I'd still eat alone. Because you know why? I'm a married father of 3. And what you learn when you get to that point in life, just as my wife will attest, when you can sneak some alone time. If you ever meet somebody, like me, and you're like, and the question in your head is, man, is your wife okay with you, having these hobbies where you do this podcast and you just, lock yourself up? Oh, yeah, because that means she's alone, And so when you become a parent and you got 3 kids, and 19 hours of the day you're dealing with 3 kids, and then the little bit of free time you get, you kind of want some alone time. Anyway, so I'm sitting there alone, which I do as a habit because, you get some peace, quiet, and I'm reading this and I think to myself, wait a second, where was I? I know I've talked before about disconnecting. In August a couple of years ago when I was working for the Blaze and they shut down, I just stopped watching network television news as a habit. I really don't watch news on the TV anymore. I've actually gotten recently where I just don't check a lot of social media because it's just so negative. It's constantly people berating each other. And Rob Schneider, you might have seen, made a great point recently about if you just turn everything off and talk to your neighbors, you'll probably find we're much more harmonious than anyone wants you to believe we are. That was a fantastic point. It's very true. I think I'm happier because I've stopped paying attention. But as I'm reading this, I thought, well, maybe I'm not paying attention in a dangerous way. So I was curious to see if it was such a surprise to anybody else that this was literally a guerrilla attack in the streets of Paris.
The way I interpret that is your traditional if it bleeds, it leads. And so obviously 89 dead with execution-style assassinations, essentially, at this music hall while people are there trying to have fun.
Right.
Obviously, that's more all at once than maybe the rest combined. I don't know. It sounded like a lot. I don't know what the total body count was, not to be insensitive about it, but what else do you call it?
No, you're right. I don't see a total number of deaths. Wait. Yes, it killed at least 130 people.
And 89 of those were in the music hall, right?
I think it's, yes, 89. Good memory. Yep, 89. But, I mean, here's the thing. You're exactly right. I mean, you've got, where was it? At the intersection. 19 people killed inside of a restaurant. You have 15 people killed in an intersection. You just imagine if somebody walked into a restaurant right now in New York City and killed 19 people. It'd be nonstop. It'd be nonstop.
Sure.
The guy in Times Square that turned his car around, and everybody that's anybody knew immediately, oh, that was intentional. Like, it looked intentional. It felt intentional. It was definitely intentional.
Killed one, correct?
I think, he killed
one, and that was nonstop news
for days.
For days.
And it turned out he was wanting suicide by cop.
Right.
So it just is suspicious to me that you have this coordinated guerrilla warfare attack. And I know I'm using that term a lot, but to me the point is...
What else do you call it?
Right. Yeah, good point. I don't know what else you'd call it, but it should bother all of us. We posted a video on our Facebook page today that said, it kind of posed the question of, ever run into the store and think, why would I carry my gun? I'm just going straight to the store and back. Well, this random dude in Atlanta ran up to a car and started kicking the windshield in. And the person luckily was able to drive away. But this is similar in the sense of some random dudes at an intersection open fire. They're killing 19 and 15 people at a time, and then 89 inside of a concert venue. Obviously in locations where guns are very, very uncommon and very unwelcome by the government, but...
I like to think I stay on top of the news for the most part. Things of this sort of nature, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little baffled at that report, that play-by-play. I mean, frankly, I want to ask other people if they remember anything.
Yeah, how much of this do you remember?
Because I bet they don't.
Play that game. Play that game and just read that timeline to people and say, hey, let me ask you a question. Tell me when this starts to sound familiar to you. Tell me when it starts to sound familiar, because it's maddening to me that I didn't know the details, but in another way, it's kind of like, well, I mean, yeah, maybe I just was unplugged, but also, why is France not wanting us to know that they're being attacked? I mean...
Right, what purpose does that serve?
Yeah, it's war in the streets. It's as bad as what's happening in the Philippines.
Well, but so... By the same token, every time something happens here, we get it's a lone wolf, it's this, it's that. What's the motivation of the media here to not divulge the full story?
Yeah.
Or at least even be journalists and dig into it and find out if it actually is a lone wolf.
Right.
Instead of just proclaiming it instantly.
Well,
minutes after it's happened. Nobody freaking knows. But they want to tell you, this unsubstantiated terrorism claim, we can't really... Come on.
Right.
Like, shut up. Just ask some questions.
It is the best when they're like, breaking news, Muhammad Jihadi Islam walked into his former workplace and cut the head off of a woman he had been known to argue with about his faith. No motive is yet known. What? We do know. We know. In fact, I remember working at the Blaze, and there was the story, Alton. What was the guy's name? I want to say it was... Yeah, I can't remember. But anyway, in Oklahoma, he went into his workplace, and he shot a coworker, and then he attempted to behead a woman in his office. And in fact, his boss came out of his office with an AR-15 and shot him and killed him. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Alton Nolan, maybe? I could be wrong. But anyway, I think that's right.
My memory's not that good.
The point is, I read the story and said, this guy went in and then he killed a woman for not converting to Islam. And one of my coworkers emailed me later, and she's like, hey, hey, where'd you get this idea that he killed her because she wouldn't convert to Islam? And I remember replying and going, well, it's in several news stories that he had, argued with her about the fact that she didn't convert to Islam. So, to me, it was pretty cut and dry. She's like, well, we don't know that for a fact. Right, but it's right here. Like everyone
Somebody
around
knows
here
it for a fact.
is saying, I'm going to look now. I think his name was Alton Brown. It's bugging me. Hold on one second. Just in case Alton Brown is like some innocent person and I'm using his name.
That's like serial killers. They usually say their middle name.
It's not Alton
cut out
Brown.
any confusion.
What did I say? No. Alton Brown's a dude from Food Network. Hold on one
Could have been him.
I said Oklahoma.
Does he have a halal show?
Alton Nolan. That's what I said, right? I just said Alton Brown. All right, Alton Nolan out of Oklahoma. So he's facing a jury trial. Let's just look. Here's an April update from him. All right, Alton Nolan pled guilty to beheading coworker Colleen Hufford and trying to behead another one at a Moore food plant back in September 2014. He was in court in April. Acknowledged his guilty plea in order to receive the death penalty as he requested. Nolan was brought in the courtroom. He caused a disturbance pretty quickly, kicking the swinging gate, blah, blah, blah. The judge asked Nolan if he'd like to proceed. He didn't even acknowledge the judge. The judge decided she could not accept Alton Nolan, couldn't accept Nolan's plea and sentencing request, and he must face a jury trial. What an idiot judge. Just shoot the guy yourself for all anybody cares. Blah, blah, blah. State's asking for the death penalty, and he deserves it. So he beheaded. I thought he got shot. What am I missing here? I thought the boss came out of the office and shot him with an AR-15.
Maybe it was somewhere else. We might be putting two stories together there.
Yeah, I'm conflating some things here.
There was one where the guy went to his car, pulled out an AR-15, came back inside, and stopped the guy from killing somebody.
I think this is it. I'm reading the full story now just to vindicate myself here.
Maybe he didn't kill him.
So he beheaded Hufford and was still assaulting Johnson when Deputy Mark Vaughn fired shots at him. Sergeant Lewis hailed Deputy Vaughn as a hero for saving Johnson's life and ending the threat. Did appear random. Weapon on a standard knife. February investigation. All right. No, I think I'm mixing it up. All right. Never mind. If you know, let me know. Chris@feltrecoilshow.com. Let's move along. Anyway, the point is these people are going to keep killing us, and the longer we act like they're not out there, and as long as we act as like Islam is a religion of peace, it's going to continue to happen. So, by the way, I've said it before, but if this is your first time hearing me talk, religion or Islam is not a religion. Okay, it's a government with a mandated religion inside of it. So stop thinking of it as a religion, and it'll all make a little more sense. All right, this is from the Ada News. A woman recounts attack on children and a fatal shooting in, I think it's Ada. It may be Ada. A-D-A. June 2nd began like any other day for Michelle Sorrells. She was staying at her mother and stepfather's home with her niece and 3-month-old twins, a boy and a girl, born prematurely. Sorrells was seeking the familiarity of family as she picked up the pieces of a relationship strained by domestic violence. It was that violence that led her to separate from the twins' father, a 27-year-old named Leland Foster. Oh, good grief. That's my dad and my son's middle name, Leland. Anyway, she says, I'd known Leland for about 3 years before we started our relationship, and I would have been with him for 2 years this August. On Friday, authorities say Foster, angry over the separation, forced his way into the home where Sorrells was staying with the children and carried out a heinous attack that has since received national media attention. Sorrells' niece... Authorities said Foster attacked Sorrells, then attempted to drown the twins. Sorrell's niece ran to a neighbor's house and summoned Cash Freeman, who armed himself, ran next door, went into the bathroom, saw Foster on top of Sorrell's trying to drown the children. He shot Foster twice, killing him. That sentence should read, he shot Foster twice and saved everyone a lot of hassle and money. I wish they would put that in the article. Because, man, just do it every time. Sorrells said Foster had never been violent until an incident that occurred the week of May 28th and 29th, during which Sorrells said Foster smacked their 3-month-old daughter in the mouth several times. She should have shot him right there. I told him he couldn't come around anymore, and then they separated. But Sorrells said Foster didn't see things that way. No kidding. All right, anyway, so good guy with a gun, again, stopping a bad guy with bad intention. Now, here's the thing. A, that's an incredible story we're sharing, but B, from the NRA, here's a reason not to freak out over permitless carry. A little over a year ago, on May 24th, 2016, permitless carry went into effect in West Virginia. Despite ex-New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg's anti-gun hysteria machine, pro-Second Amendment lawmakers in the Mountain State realized that law-abiding citizens have a right to carry concealed for self-defense. That's a big win for freedom-loving, Second Amendment-supporting West Virginians. But what about all the doomsday predictions, calling it the Wild West and a threat to public safety? 1 year later, here's how West Virginia State Police spokesman Lieutenant Michael Bayless describes the impact permitless carry has had on the state. Quote, when comparing the raw data from 2015 and 2016, there does not appear to be an overall significant difference in the number of violent crimes committed with firearms. Some counties experienced an increase in gun-related incidents, while others experienced a decrease. Lieutenant Dan Underwood says, I can't say constitutional carry had anything to do with it when we've got heroin, which I know had something to do with the few murders around. Constitutional carry has not unleashed the Wild Wild West in West Virginia in the last 12 months. Enter Alaska, Arizona, and Wyoming. Each state enacted permitless carry in 2003, 2010, and 2011, respectively. And according to data from the FBI's Crime in the United States report, it's clear that none of the aforementioned states experienced an increase in the number of murders, including handgun murders, after enacting permitless carry. In Alaska, handgun murders actually declined. In fact, in the last 14 years, handgun murders have declined as a percentage of the total number of murders. Definitely no doomsday there. Arizona also saw a decrease in the percentage of murders committed with a handgun. After its permitless carry law took effect in 2010, overall murder is down as well. Similar trends in Wyoming. The fact is, permitless carry simply hasn't produced the kind of dire, anarchic scenario gun control advocates want you to believe. End quote. End of story from the NRA.
So we talked about this last week, right?
Yeah, a little bit about constitutional carry.
And we both expressed our reservations, right? And I think... So, well, let me ask you a question. Has this story that you just read, has that changed your opinion at all?
Well, no, because I don't think...
Because people are still stupid?
A lot of people are pretty dumb. I'm not under the impression that constitutional carry is going to lead to everyone killing each other. I just think... Here's my problem. First of all, to be very, very clear, we are our own worst enemy. The gun community, for some reason, is full of so much ego. Ergo, why we praise Travis Haley so much, right? And we say it again and again, and not to just be fanboys, but the fact of the matter is, here's a guy. Let me sidestep for a quick minute, just tell a story, if you don't mind. Thanks.
Oh, okay.
So, real life here. We were coordinating a work event. And I was introduced to a guy who was probably as rude can be. When you're on his turf and you're trying to bring as many hundreds of people as you possibly can out to this little place that he has a working relationship with. He's not an employee. I can't tell you too much because I don't want to pinpoint exactly who I'm talking about here, because he's actually I don't know. I'd say he's a big name guy. If I said the name, you may know him.
I mean, he's not to me, but whatever.
Yeah, here's the point. He's a jerk. He was rude to me then. He's been rude to me in every instance since. And he was very, very arrogant. And he was very, very rude to me about the fact that he had a working relationship, A, with the venue we were attempting to use, and B, with a gun store that he thought was a local competitor of the gun store I worked at. Whereas I look at it like, I'm not competing with anybody else. I mean, business is business. If I work at one gun store and you work at another, then all the better to you. I hope you guys can have creative sales that we don't have, and vice versa, and we can each make a living working in an industry we enjoy.
You filthy capitalist.
Right, exactly. Competition is healthy. Adam Smith wrote me a letter and told me that. So I say, wow, he's a real piece of trash. You know, he's a jerk. And the guy that was riding me around and, introduced me to everybody, he goes, "Hey, man, I just want to apologize for the way he acted. And, he was a Marine, and I don't think he understands that it comes off as rude and blah, blah." I said to the guy, "Let me just tell you something. I just spent 3 days in Tulsa, Oklahoma with a guy that has killed more people than that guy's probably ever met. And when I say killed more people, I mean jihadis, like legitimate bad guys trying to come here and kill us. And that guy's been in the thick of it, and he mowed them down, and there's a famous video you can go watch of it on YouTube. Travis Haley at the Battle of Najaf, just killing people, just doing work. Now, here's another thing. Travis Haley wouldn't want that to be his legacy, right? He doesn't want to be the guy that killed a bunch of people. I'm just telling you that because I think that's an amazing feat that he went over and legitimately fought bad guys and won. I think it's as simple as you can make it. He fought bad guys and won. And here's a guy who is, however old he is, back home in South Carolina, and he's just being a dick to anybody that comes up and says, "Hey, let me try and bring people to this facility for you." And the excuse is he's a Marine. So I say, Travis Haley was a recon Marine. I mean, this is a MARSOC guy, and he was the nicest guy in the world. So that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. I don't care what you've been through. You don't be rude to people like that. It's not an excuse. And the guy that was with me was like, "All right." And furthermore, I worked with a guy who I'll let remain nameless, who I think is one of the nicest guys in the world, who had legitimate war stories about, experiences having to do what needs to be done when jihadis come your way. And he was super nice to everyone he met. He gave everybody a chance. So it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. You're either a nice person or you're a bad person. And so, all right, how did I end up on that rabbit trail? Except that you have this guy who claims, it's because of my experiences, I'm all worked up and I'm going to be rude to everybody I meet. And then you have a guy like Travis Haley. Well, that encourages you to like Travis Haley that much more. And I think that speaks more to his character about who he is in the sense of he's an approachable, humble guy. Patrick, how did I get onto that?
I'm not real sure.
Constitutional carry.
Yep.
Travis
that had
Haley.
something to do with it. You
yes.
lost me.
We are our own worst enemy, is my point. So that guy, let's just say that I had never been to a Travis Haley class. And let's just say that I was new to the shooting community. And that guy is the first guy I meet in competitive shooting who has some sort of relationship with the facility. If that had been my first experience, I'd have been like, no, I want nothing to do with these people. That guy's a jackass. I don't want to have to deal with him. Forget it, deals off. I don't even want to go back out there. And the fact of the matter is I don't go back to that facility a lot because I am kind of like, I don't want to run into him. Because a couple other times I've been out there, all he does is come up and tell you how you're doing stuff wrong. I don't know about that, man. All right, man. You don't work here. You don't own this place. You're just a jerk. So if that was my experience with the shooting community and that's all I had, I wouldn't want anything to do with the shooting community. So if my only experience with people who handle firearms was inside of the gun store where I work and the people that come into there, I would probably be adamantly opposed, A, not only to like just anybody buying a gun, but B, the idea of constitutional carry. But fortunately, I don't live in that bubble, and I come out of it, and I have good friends and just mere acquaintances and people I know who carry every day and who handle firearms safely and who aren't stupid. And so I can go, okay, well, there is a balance here. So it doesn't change my mind on constitutional carry because murder rates are either going down or staying flat or just basically not skyrocketing because of constitutional and permitless carry. I still think all the gripes remain the same. I still think, by the way, it can be a constitutional right, but it can be somewhat regulated in the sense that I think the government is okay to say to you, yes, you have a right to carry a firearm, but you need to be of this age, right, in order to carry it in public. And outside of that, can they mandate classes? I don't know. That's tricky because you can't have a poll tax. It's not like we could have people going to vote and say to them, you have to pass this test before you're allowed to vote. So you can't do the same to the Second Amendment if you're standing on principle. You know,
technically, you kind of already do, in the sense of.
Oh, we definitely do.
You got to pay. You got to pay to get a CWP.
Yeah, it's a poll tax. Absolutely. And you have to sit through a 6 to 8 hour class. And then you have to go show that you know how to use the gun. And then the state chooses whether or not they'll issue it to you. So there's already the poll tax there. I get it. But if we're going to go the route of, well, is it constitutional and can everybody carry, then it should be. And there can't be those impediments there between you and carrying. Makes sense?
Sure.
So I mean, all I know is, does it do the same to you? It doesn't convince me that everybody should carry anytime they want.
No, it doesn't really change my opinion at all.
Yeah.
I was just kind of being a smart ass.
Oh, okay. So all that was wasted.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if I could get you down a rabbit trail.
Yeah, good job.
Mission accomplished.
I even lost my train of thought. Thanks, dude, from the shooting facility. I still can't get over. I mean, here's a guy. Yeah, I won't get into it too much. But, man, he drove me crazy. It's not an excuse. I don't care what you've done with your life, good, bad, or indifferent. If you think I owe you some sort of debt of respect, it's not a way to earn it, to be rude to people.
Hey, man.
And then hope the guys...
He wears tight shirts with companies on it.
Yeah, he does.
So,
yeah.
I mean, you should automatically respect him more.
I'll just draw one more parallel. I remember the first time I saw Travis Haley in person. And he pulled up in a nondescript rental car. And I was like, whoa, there's the man, there's the man. And, you know, you were there. We were in a parking lot in Tulsa.
Yeah, and I was like, a Ford Festiva.
Yeah, right? We're like, wow, that thing's awesome. He's cool. It was cool to see a guy you admire so much in person. And that was awesome. And then this other guy here in South Carolina, who's a local yokel, drives around in a truck with shirts on it. They're just emblazoned with every logo somebody will let him wear. Available to the highest bidder. So, okay. Whatever. All right, so here's something terrifying. You remember that Jeff Daniels HBO clip where they're like, he's all worked up about how America isn't the best country in the world and other countries are free too, and why are we so set on America?
I remember that floating around.
It's not the greatest country in the world. Well, it's bogus because he names all these countries who actually don't have freedom the way we do. These countries don't have free speech rights, okay? That's dead in Canada, Australia. They don't have right to protect themselves from the enemy, okay? It's dead. From Breitbart.com, here's a new law from Ontario that allows the government to seize children from parents who are opposing gender transition. The Canadian government may legally remove children from families that refuse to accept their children's chosen gender identity thanks to new legislation passed by the Ontario province. I'm having trouble reading here. Bill 89, Supporting Children, Youth, and Families Act 2017, was approved on June 1st by a vote of 63 to 23. The Minister of Children and Youth Services, Michael, what do you say, Coteau, Coteau, we'll call him...
you got to put some French inflection on that.
All right, sorry. So Michael Mapleleaf, who introduced the bill, said earlier this year that a parent's failure to recognize... This is great. A parent's failure to recognize and support a child's gender self-identification is a form of child abuse, and a child in these circumstances should be removed from the situation and placed into protection. I would consider that a form of abuse when a child identifies one way and a caregiver is saying, no, you need to do this differently, Mapleleaf said. If it's abuse and if it's within the definition, a child can be removed from that environment and placed into protection where the abuse stops. The new bill replaces the Child and Family Services Act, or Bill 28, which governed child protection, foster care, and adoption services. While gender identity and gender expression are included in the new legislation, the best interests of the child, the religious faith in which the parents are raising the child, present in former laws, has been removed from consideration for assessing the child's best interests. Child protection agents, adoption service providers, and judges are now required to take into account and respect a child's, quote, this is great, wait for it, race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, family, diversity, disability, creed, sex, sexual orientation, ready? Gender identity and gender expression.
Those are two different things?
I have no idea what either of those are.
I don't know what that means.
Gender identity and gender expression. All right. Some Christians have reacted. This is what you're about to hear, by the way, as unbelievable as this is, as unbelievable as what you're hearing is. It's about to get worse. Some Christians have reacted strongly to the new bill, calling it a violation of parents' primordial rights to educate their children and a direct assault on Christian beliefs. With the passage of Bill 89, we've entered an era of totalitarian power by the state, such as never witnessed before in Canada's history. Make no mistake, Bill 89 is a grave threat to Christians and all people of faith who have children. In April of this year, you're not going to believe this, but I swear it's true. In April of this year, a Christian couple filed a lawsuit against Hamilton Children's Aid Society after two foster children were removed from their care because they refused to tell the children that the Easter Bunny is real. Derek Bars says, quote, "We have a no-lying policy in our home. We explained to the agency that we are not prepared to tell the children a lie. If the children asked, we would not lie to them, but we would not bring it up ourselves." Bars is one of the foster parents who lost his children for disobeying a child support worker who ordered him and his wife to tell the two girls in their care, aged 3 and 4, that the Easter Bunny is real.
Because that's a priority of the state.
First of all, separation of church and state. Okay. So if they don't want to celebrate, if these people wouldn't have been Christian and they would have just said, we don't celebrate Easter and we're going to tell our kids Jesus wasn't real, it would be a totally different story. And Canada would have said, you know what, you're right.
Does Canada have separation of church and state, though?
No, that's true. It's just all state.
Okay.
So, yeah. State can do what it wants. Would it be Catholic up there? I don't know. I mean, they came through origin. Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I'm still a little hung up on this gender expression and gender identity thing. I think at this point, like, we're just making stuff up.
It's the easiest way to do it.
Means.
Let me ask you this question. So let's say Canadian child care, whatever it's called up there, comes to my house. And there's my foster kid splat on the ground, head split wide open. He's dead, right? Guts all over the place. You're like, whoa, Chris, this is terrible, right? Well, just hear me out here. Hear me out. 3 and 4-year-old, right? Just dead, lying on the pavement, blood everywhere. And they're like, oh, man, what did you do? I'm like, man. They were like, we're Superman. And they went up on the roof, and they had capes on, and they jumped. I mean, I can't get in their way if they believe they're Superman. The state says I have to say, yeah, you're Superman. No. Only if they're a boy and they believe they're a girl. Whoa. You were not clear. My friend, because it said in there, gender expression, gender identity, race, and ancestry. Yeah. And they both said they were from Krypton, which I totally believed because I wasn't there when they were birthed. And they put their capes on, and they said, foster stepdad or whatever they call him, watch this. And they went for it, man. And again, I would have stopped them. I totally would have stopped them. But the state said that I can't argue with them over their origin or their ethnicity. And they said, our place of origin is Krypton. We are Supermen. And they went for it. Now, they're dead. And I'm sorry about that, but I cannot be held liable because, as you instructed, the Easter Bunny is real, and so is Superman.
Good news for everyone. You can't take them away now.
Terrible. But isn't that the most absurd extension of this logic? I make this argument to people all the time when we talk about this transgender issue. Well, I mean, what are you going to do if one of your boys thinks he's a girl? I'm going to tell him he's not a girl. The same way I say, son, you are Superman with your cape on for pretend. And my 4-year-old, by the way, knows that. He will say to me, Dad, I'm Superman for pretend, right? But it's not real. And I go, yeah, it's not real, buddy, but isn't it fun to pretend? And he'll say, yes, it's fun to pretend. Now, I won't think it's fun for him to pretend if he's dressing up in high heels and dresses at some point. I'll have to go, hey, buddy, what you doing? And we'll have a very serious conversation about how men are men and women are women. And if you think that's a problem, well, there's a natural order to things. Evolution or creation or whatever you want it to be, there is a natural order to the universe. And if you're going against the natural order, if you're going against the evolution of the species, or if you're going against the way God created you, that's a problem that can be resolved. It's a problem that can be resolved. So I don't intend on allowing my children to be superheroes, or, by the way, anorexic. Okay, if my daughter grows up and goes, Dad, look at how fat I am, I'm going to go, you're not fat. Okay, your BMI is a third of mine. Calm down. And she goes, no, Dad, I'm so fat, I'm just not going to eat. I'm going to go, okay, now you're anorexic. But are these people going to say to me, now wait a second, Chris, she fat identifies. And so you have to respect the fact that she has a fat identification. And you just have to allow her to believe she's fat and not eat anymore.
As much as I want to think that gender identity and gender expression aren't really a thing, going back to what we talked about earlier, if you think about it in the context of Justin Bieber, it starts to make a little bit more sense.
What is that thing? What is it? It's a guy? I mean, it's definitely a guy who takes his shirt off. I don't know. Where do you draw the line? What psychosis are you allowed to ignore?
And it really is. Whoever, I don't know who was quoted in that article, said something about it being totalitarianism. That is exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
The state's taking your children away because you're teaching them what values are fundamental to you. That's a little bit absurd.
That was Jack Fonseca, a senior political strategist for the Campaign Life Coalition, who said, with the passage of the bill, we've entered an era of totalitarian power by the state.
But the good news is that all these libs that every time an election or something doesn't go their way, they all want to move to Canada because they're racist and they want to move there instead of Mexico. Now they're going to fit right in there now.
It's true.
Just throwing it out there. They got. I mean, this is becoming the liberal utopia.
Sure. And it's absurd. It's absurd. It takes... Here's the thing. It ties in well with Kathy Griffin because A, that might be a dude, and B, also because it is the consequence of wanting to live a life without consequences and being told that's a possibility. Kathy Griffin was fully under the impression that she could do whatever she wanted and there would be zero consequences. These people are fully under the impression that if a young man or a young woman believes they are a different gender than they are, there should be zero consequences to that. The burden should be on you and I to accommodate their psychosis. But the problem is these people are so internally struggling that the suicide rate is exponentially higher among transgender people than any other class of people, and they make up less than 1% of the population. So why are they allowed to have a suicide rate that is exponentially higher than everybody else, and we don't do anything about the fact that they're facing a psychosis alone, and all we're doing is placating something that is a legitimate mental health issue and allowing them to die in droves? We're not doing anything to stop the death of the transgendered people. In fact, laws like this encourage it. It encourages it. And there's nothing else to say about it except the fact that now, as these transgender people commit suicide,
We can't
you're
have
on
a
the hook for
conversation
it.
now. You can't have a
Can't
conversation.
even bring it up. You're suddenly a bigot.
Yeah.
I may have relayed to you the lunch I had. Did I talk about this here yet? I had lunch with a friend where I was talking about the fact that transgender people have a psychosis we have to deal with.
We talked about it on the show.
Yeah, okay. It's exactly that. Like it was immediately, and I don't think it's a fault of his own, except for the fact that he buys into the narrative of the media and everybody around him that if somebody says that being transgendered is a mental issue, stop listening because they're a bigot. Just stop listening.
Yeah,
to
shut
them.
it down.
Yeah, don't take anything they say to have any merit behind it. Just shut them down, make them stop talking because that is bigotry, and you don't want to be a part of that. But the more I said to him, wait, let me lay out 5 scenarios of gay people I know, and let me tell you some personal details about the people you know too. By the way, he knew these same people. These people you know, all of them homosexuals. Let's run through their history. Blah, 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 blah. He goes, huh? I said, now you're telling me that they were all born that way. Because 4 of the 5 will tell you they weren't. Okay? 4 of the 5 will tell you they weren't. And you're going to tell me that they definitely were. How's that work? How's it that one man who used to be gay is now married to a woman with children? Was he born homosexual? Or was he born straight and never realized it? Or did he choose to be gay for a little while? So my point here is...
It's funny. They're being defended by someone who probably doesn't even relate, right?
Yeah, not on that level. But my whole point to him was, all I'm saying is it's not as cut and dry as you're definitely born that way or you definitely choose it. And it's also not as cut and dry as if you identify as a girl, you can be a girl and you can live that way. No. There might be something to be said about examining the mental health of certain people struggling with these issues. If you're gay and you're happy, then so be it. I don't have a problem with it. Quite honestly, hey, when you do what you got to do, right? Because I don't think the state should be in the business of telling consenting adults what they're allowed to do. Now, morally, would we have a disagreement? Absolutely. I'd say to you, look, it goes against my faith. It's not something my faith condones. But there's many other things that a lot of my friends do, like A, not agreeing with my faith, that my faith doesn't condone. So if I can be good, dear friends with someone who doesn't believe my faith, then why can't I be good, dear friends with someone else who doesn't believe my
Chris,
faith?
you're supposed to cut their heads off.
Oh. I forgot I was a Muslim. Thanks for bringing me.
Yeah.
You bring it full
You're
circle.
welcome.
All right, anyway. It's outrageous. It's killing people, and I think it should stop. All right, let's see. What did we not get to? Because we're at our hour mark, and for the sake of my father and his ADD, he said after 60 minutes he's out.
What's that article Jonathan sent over?
Yeah, let's hit that, and then we'll wrap it. This is from thehill.com, courtesy of our buddy Jonathan. GOP lawmaker invites colleagues to Capitol shooting range. This is up on our Facebook page, by the way, if you'd like to read it. Representative Jeff Duncan has invited his colleagues to the Capitol Police shooting range in a Senate office building on Tuesday to try their hand at firing a gun with a silencer. Now, don't troll these people, okay? It's a silencer or suppressor. The guy that invented it called it a silencer. You can call it a silencer, okay?
Also, who cares? Just throwing that out there.
Trolls, Patrick, trolls.
Right. Well, they're idiots.
Duncan's office said the South Carolina Republican is trying to drum up support for the Duncan Carter Hearing Protection Act, which would eliminate a federal requirement that firearm silencers, also known as sound suppressors, be registered. Duncan, along with Senator Mike Crapo, C-R-A-P-O, sorry, Mike. Terrible last name.
You need to say that with a French inflection.
Oh,
Chris.
okay. Sorry about that. Duncan, along with Senator Mike Surrenders all the time, Republican from Idaho, have invited both Democrat and Republican colleagues to join them at the shooting range. It says shooting range. Oh, boy. At the shooting range in the Rayburn office building from 4:30 to 6:30 on Tuesday. This was published on Monday of this week. It is now Wednesday night. I'd like to read the follow-up. I wonder how that went.
I'd like to know who attended.
Yeah.
More importantly.
I really, really would like to know how that went. It's a great idea, by the way. A fantastic idea. Mr. Duncan, kudos to you, because that is a fantastic idea. Because here's the thing about guns. We always fear what we don't know. We always fear the things we don't understand. And if somebody has painted a scary picture about it, then we're going to be terrified of it. Great example, as silly as it's going to sound, alligators, right? If you ran across an alligator, you'd probably run for the hills these days, right? You'd be terrified. But then you can go watch these videos of people handling them, and you realize they're actually somewhat docile creatures until threatened. When I was little, true story, my buddy Matt Bullard and I used to go drop rocks on crocodiles in the canal near his house. That is 100% verifiable. We would literally walk to the edge of these canals, and the crocodile, the alligators would be, I don't know, because I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. Matt lived on Eagle Bend Island, and you could go out there, and there's wildlife everywhere. And we would find alligators and throw rocks at them, and we didn't die. I don't know how we survived. But my point is, terrified of it if you don't know. People that are terrified of spiders. Anyway, so the point is, when you get hands-on and learn about things, you tend to not be as terrified as you once were. So I think this is fantastic.
Well, you remember the YouTube videos from a couple years ago where they were taking liberals to the shooting range?
Yes.
And the reaction, they were like elated.
They loved it.
They loved it. They were going in, this is ridiculous. Oh, this is going to be terrible. And then by the end of it, they were like, oh, can I keep shooting?
Yes.
So I think must be exactly what Representative Duncan was trying to do here, is get people out who ordinarily would not be around these sort of firearms and silencers and things of that nature. But the other thing, too, is the article goes on to explain that part of the purpose of this was to show that these aren't, and I'm paraphrasing, they're not weapons that assassins use.
Yeah, it's not like the movies.
Right. And I think it even says here that even some of these guns are still as loud as a jackhammer, even with a quote-unquote silencer on it. And so, I think this is exactly what needs to happen in order for the Hearing Protection Act to actually become law. I know we're probably still really far away from that. And it's really funny because guys will come up to us in the store. I'm sure you see it too, where they come up and they go, hey, so where are we at on that Hearing Protection Act?
Is that the law yet?
And I'll go, we aren't anywhere on it because they don't let me vote on it.
Right.
But it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. And they just look at you with this like sad puppy dog face.
Well, and most often, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like they don't believe me because they're reading all this stuff from all these different companies who want it to pass, and the companies are acting like we're a step away. And then they come in and go, "Yeah, man, that passed yet?" You know, I don't think that's going to pass. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And then they leave. It's like, no, I hate to tell you this, but just if you can, please quickly recall for me the time the government passed a law where they refunded people a bunch of money. Millions and millions of dollars. Just recall that time for me where they passed the law.
Hang on, let me set my watch.
All right.
We'll wait.
All right. Phone lines are open. You know, so it's never happened, and it's not going to happen here. They're going to have to change the wording of the legislation, and quite frankly, as we've said before, I think before anything happens, the ATF will just go, all right, let's not regulate sound suppressors and silencers, and let's just let those roll from this point forward.
And I am hearing some rumors, some ripples throughout the industry.
Rumor alert!
That may actually already be in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get real specific because I don't really know the specifics.
Right.
I just know that the ATF is sort of working in the background.
Considering options.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like government employees want to work. So
No. So anything that makes them have to work less,
the more they can
they're all about it.
do less of, the better they are. All right. Hey, good show, Hulon. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. I'm an embarrassment.
It happens.
I'm an embarrassment to the Felt Recoil brand. Let's see if Paracel works right.
Hey, you know what? Next week, we'll give you another chance.
I do want to mention July 8th, tentatively, we're looking at July 8th. We'll be at Denver Defense in North Carolina. Come join us for that. Also, if you have questions about shotguns, we've invited the smartest shotgun guy I know in the world onto the program. So find us at feltrecoilshow.com and submit all your questions that way, and we'll try and get them answered for you in the next couple of weeks when he joins us on the show.
We'll have to provide subtitles, but I'm looking forward to it.
Current and...
How do you do subtitles on a podcast? We need a translator.
Yeah, we will definitely need... We'll have to bring Stump back to translate. That would be hilarious. All right. Also, if you go to youtube.com/feltrecoilshow, you can actually find the audio of all of our episodes there. So if work or whatever restricts you from podcasting websites, but you can get on YouTube, you can sit down, relax, and listen to current and previous episodes. All right. We'll see you next week. It'll be episode number 30 by that point. Good times. This is the Felt Recoil Podcast.